Hi class, this is Commercial Law BA 3302, Lesson 13, which is based on Chapter 19. This is Lesson 13, Video 1. The chapter is called Performance and Remedies, and remedies means remedies for non-performance. It's kind of like contracts and then what to do when they breach your contract. And this is specifically performance and remedies for non-performance under Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code. A key point for this chapter is to remember that the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, creates special rules applicable to contracts for the sale of goods. When a contract for the sale of goods is breached, Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code provides a detailed analysis to help courts determine who or whom which party bears the risk of loss. Okay, the UCC applies in a commercial contract. When one of the parties is a merchant, you use the UCC. If it's for the sale of goods, which is anything portable, and the UCC will figure out, or help the lawyers and the judge or mediator, helps the parties to figure out who bears the risk of loss. Let's begin with the lawsuit. I'm going to talk to you about a case, kind of tell you the story of Furlong versus the Alpha Chi Omega sorority. This comes from the reporter is volume 657 of the Northeast 2nd, page 866. And it was from an Ohio municipal court in 1993. So what I find interesting is going to be the names Furlong versus Alpha Chi, or Alpha Chi Omega, a sorority. So it's a college sorority in a lawsuit, and this is in Ohio in 1993. I just know that once I get involved in a case, I'm always asking myself, wait, where are we? What state are we in? What year was this? Because that's obviously important. It's 1993, and it's in Ohio. Here's a picture of the Alpha Chi Omega sorority house. The house is not really the story. The suit's not about the building, but this is, in fact, this isn't even the sorority house at Ohio State. I think this is a sorority house I just found on the internet. But you get the idea. Colleges, big colleges that have a Greek life, you know, the sororities and fraternities. Basically, it's just about roommates and dormitories. Well, they get together and they have a big house, and all the girls live in the same house, and they pay for it. Remember, again, I've told you this before, every court opinion follows the same outline. Every opinion from every case almost always goes in this order. The facts of the case are first, then you have the applicable law, then the judge's writing, usually in appellate court, will explain how does the law apply to these facts, and then the conclusion. So it's always that way. Facts first. What's the law? How does the law apply to the facts? And then what's the conclusion? Okay, so the facts of this case, James Furlong sells sweaters, and he contacted Emily Lieberman, the chair of the Alpha Chi Social Committee, something like 12 to 18 times. He contacted Alpha Chi Omega about a sweater order. On behalf of the sorority, Lieberman eventually ordered 168 sweaters to be delivered on October 23rd of 1992. Delivery was key because it was the day before Alpha Chi Omega's midnight masquerade. So they want to wear these sweaters on Saturday night. He's going to deliver them on Friday. There's also masks because it's a masquerade. So they're going to wear masks and sweaters at this ball or whatever it is the following day. The total order was going to cost $3,612, and it would be broken up into a $2,000 down payment and a balance payment of $1,612, which would be paid on delivery. The parties have an oral contract, okay, covering quantity, price, and delivery, because they did it over the phone. I don't know that anything was in writing. Now, another important point is that the design of these sweaters was dickered, and that's a term that, like you say, people say, well, you were dickering over this or dickering over that. Dickering is like a legal term that they dickered on the details. It means they specifically talked about the details. The design, it wasn't just give us design B, you know, or You know, I want that design number 4 on page 2 of the catalog. It's not like that. They went over the design in detail, and the girls of the sorority had a very specific design in mind, and Furlong agreed to it. So the design was dickered, that is, the parties discussed it at length, and the details were critical to the bargain. And it starts with, for example, 100 green letters on top of maroon letters outlined in navy blue, and then there would be 100 green masks. Actually, there's a lot of details. The design of this, I read that part. On October 13th, 1992, Alpha Chi Omega mailed a check for the $2,000 deposit. So they mailed off a check. The morning of delivery, Argento Printers, which was Furlong's employer, they asked Furlong about the design and making some changes, and he agreed to some design changes. Did he call Alpha Chi Omega? No, he didn't. He just said, yeah, sure, change it up a little bit, you know, take out the maroon, change it to red or whatever. He agreed to some design changes, and they went ahead and made the 600 sweaters or whatever it was. I think it wasn't 600, it was 150 or something. They agreed to the changes, and they changed the design in 5 different ways, 5 different changes. They removed the navy blue outline. They reduced the number of colors from 3 to 2. They changed the color from maroon to red. There was design on the back and on the front and the back of the sweater. They changed both sides of the sweater. Lots of changes. Well, when the sweaters were delivered, Alpha Chi Omega tendered a check for the balance of $1,612. So now this paid in full. Later that day, Alpha Chi Omega inspected the sweaters. They opened up the box. They saw how much the design had been changed. And do you think they would notice if they changed it from maroon to red or red to maroon? Yeah, because they go to Ohio State or whatever. They're not going to get their school colors wrong. But the printer changed the colors on the sweater, which is unbelievable to me, but they made a change. So Alpha Chi Omega called and told the bank, stop payment on the check, the deposit check, and I think both checks. Alpha Chi Omega never did pay the balance of the price because of the changes to the design. And after examining and talking at length in the court opinion about the 5 changes, the court writes that the goods, quote, did not conform to the contract. So this was a non-conforming tender of goods. Tender means you delivered. Well, it's a non-conforming tender, a non-conforming delivery. You can't bring us goods that don't fit the order. I mean, it's the wrong goods. Furlong, in an effort to work this out, with the sorority, he offered to reduce the price. But Alpha Chi Omega said, no, they don't want these sweaters. The colors are wrong or whatever. The day the sweaters were delivered, that same day, Alpha Chi Omega President Amy called Furlong and offered to return the sweaters. He said no. And at the time of the court's writing of the opinion that we're reading, the sorority still has the sweaters. Furlong still has, I guess, the deposit if that payment wasn't stopped. So they go to a lawsuit, I think brought by Furlong and the printers to get the rest of their money. The law is Furlong's duty was to tender conforming goods in accordance with the contract. And Alpha Chi Omega's duty was to accept conforming goods and to pay in accordance with the contract. Now, how does the law apply to the facts of this case? Well, the law requires that rejection must happen within a reasonable time. Obviously, the day of delivery, that's a reasonable time. They rejected their goods the same day. Furlong said, no, they accepted the sweaters. I delivered all of them. Court says, no, that's not acceptance. Just because you dropped them off at the sorority house, that's not the same. They have a reasonable opportunity to inspect the sweaters and make a decision, and they decided to reject it. So the court says Alpha Chi Omega did not breach the deal, okay? And in fact, Furlong is the one who breached the deal. Furlong breached. Alpha Chi Omega has a right to cancel the contract and demand that their $2,000 deposit be returned. And Alpha Chi Omega has a rightful security interest in the sweaters, which they get to keep until they get all their money back.